You're my boy, Blue! You're my boy.
Knicks Daily Edition.
You're my boy, Blue. Today, the New York Knicks parted ways with Tom Thibodeau. And to say those words out loud feels like pushing send on a breakup text that no one really wanted to write. It doesn't feel celebratory, at least not to me. It doesn't feel victorious. It feels like the end of a heavy emotional chapter in New York Knicks history. One that should be remembered as a time of fierce pride, defiant work ethic, and the return of respectability actually for Madison Square Garden. I laugh at a lot of Knicks fans who are jumping up and down right now. This wasn't an easy decision. Not for the fans, not for the players, especially not for Leon Rose. Let's be clear. This was a friend firing a friend. Leon Rose and Tom Thibodeau go back decades. They had a relationship that was built on mutual trust and in many ways survival in an NBA ecosystem that chews people up. Thibs was never just an employee to Leon Rose. He was a cornerstone of the first regime in years that were dedicated to building instead of burning down in New York. That made plans instead of press conferences, that got results, not rumors. Firing Tom Thibodeau was probably the hardest decision Leon Rose has ever made in his career, in his life. But this isn't a breakup. This is a eulogy and a thank you letter roll into one. Because if you root for the New York Knicks like I do, if you cover the New York Knicks, if you play for the New York Knicks, then you should be grateful for what Tom Thibodeau did. Deeply, passionately, painfully grateful. Let's look back to 2020. We were a joke. Not in the fun, quirky, ha way. At least the Garden rocks. Not that way. The Knicks were a dumpster fire. The team was considered toxic. Front office was revolving. Agents didn't want their clients signing here LeBron James. Coaches, actual candidates with resumes, were passing on interview requests with us. The job of head coach of the New York Knicks was radioactive. Nobody wanted any parts of it. And then walks in Tom Thibodeau. At that time, he was a grizzled veteran on the NBA sidelines, written off after flaming out in Minnesota. The man was mocked for his workaholic tendencies. He was dismissed as 290s in a league that was going fast, fluid, and free. Thibodeau didn't just take the Knicks job, he wanted the Knicks job. He wanted it when no one else did. He wanted to be here at rock bottom with us. He wanted that pressure, the dysfunction, the chaos, the noise. He wanted that challenge. And in return, we as New York, we gave him something most of the basketball world had taken from him. We gave him a chance at redemption. And that's something that New York Knicks fans, in your glow right now, some of you need to take note of. What did he do with it? He dragged the New York Knicks. He clawed them from laughing stock to relevance. That 2021 season wasn't supposed to happen. Not in any script, not in any simulation. Julius Randle turned into a machine. The defense was ferocious. That team won 41 games, made the playoffs, finished 4th in the East, and Coach Thibs, he won NBA Coach of the Year that year. Let's sit with that for a second. Coach of the Year in New York with that roster. That could be considered a modern basketball miracle. In addition to that, it was simply a jolt to the basketball heart of a tired city, a weary, wounded fan base. We were pathetic. We had learned to flinch at hope. And then there was Thibs, arms crossed, voice hoarse, game plan out the crazy, no sleep, accountability, defense, pride. He brought that New York swagger back. He made it cool to play it for the New York Knicks again. He made it cool to care about the New York Knicks again. So if we're talking Thibs, talk that. Let's talk about the culture Thibs built and why that matters so damn much. Every team wants to build culture. It's become a buzzword now. But culture doesn't come from marketing decks and slogans. Culture comes from sweat equity, from standards, from repetition, from holding everyone accountable. No matter what your contract, your press clippings, or the number of Instagram followers you got. To the same expectation, Thibs did that. From journeyman to lottery picks to future all-stars, Tom Thibodeau coached everyone. You weren't bigger than a system. You were expected to give effort, always. Play defense, always. Dive on the floor, box out, close out, compete every night. Every possession, every quarter. You know who loved that? Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, Julius Randle, Quentin Grimes, Isaiah Hartenstein, and every role player who turned into a meaningful contributor. You know who thrived in that? Mitchell Robinson, a guy once known more for his antics other than anchoring the defense that became one of the most feared defenses in the league. He became one of the most feared rim protectors in the NBA under Tom Thibodeau's tutelage. Obi Toppin had some of his best flashes with Thibs. RJ Barrett, for all of the ups and downs, developed real playoff poise and maturity under this system. And then there's Jalen Brunson, the diamond in Tom Thibodeau's gritty crown. Thibs didn't discover Brunson, but he believed in him more than the rest of the league did. He empowered him. He built the offense around him. He trusted him. And in turn, Brunson became a legitimate superstar, a playoff closer, and Madison Square Garden icon. So let's not mince words when we're talking about Thibs. Brunson's rise into a top-tier guard dropping 40 and 50 points a game in a playoff series happened on Tom Thibodeau's watch. He trusted him from day one. And let's not forget, this team won playoff series, beat Donovan Mitchell and the Cavs, went toe-to-toe with Jimmy Butler and the Heat, swept the Philadelphia 76ers that year. Took the Indiana Pacers to 7 games in the 2025 Eastern Conference Finals. 6 games. Ankle tape and adrenaline is all Brunson had. You think that's luck? It's not. It's culture. It's coaching. It was Tom Thibodeau. Every Knicks fan should thank him for this. Should thank him for making the Garden matter again. For reminding the league that defense is still part of the game. For showing that effort is a skill. For creating an identity that free agents now want to be a part of. Thibodeau made New York a basketball destination. That should be etched in the Garden rafters. All you anti-Thibodeau people, come on, you got to give that man at least that much. Now, was he perfect? Hell no, he wasn't perfect. He had blind spots. He was stubborn, often to a fault. He trusted his veterans too much. He benched the kids too quickly. He rode stars into the ground. All of the above is true. His offense could be rigid. His rotations often bizarre. I'll give you that. His in-game adjustments, particularly in crunch time, left fans screaming at their TVs this playoff run. But he cared. And he learned. That's what made his final chapter so rich. He adjusted. Slowly, but surely. He coached modern spacing. He let Brunson freelance. He gave Bridges and Hart freedom to push the pace. He even allowed for switching schemes on defense when necessary. You could see the evolution, even as the gruff exterior stayed the same. He wasn't just the grumpy old school guy anymore. He was a winning coach in the modern NBA. He redeemed himself here, and we got to watch it happen. The city embraced him. We loved him at the Garden. Yes, we yelled. Yes, we debated his every substitution. Yes, we second guessed, but it was all done with a level of respect he had earned. This wasn't Derek Fisher or David Fisdale or Kurt Rambis. This was a coach who knew what the hell he was doing, and he got real results every year. Players played for him. They bought in. They ran through walls for him. He gave the city everything he had. He gave the city something it had forgotten how to ask for. Consistency, competence, toughness. And so now we part ways. Why? Because sometimes stories end when the writer's pen still has ink. Leon Rose knows the time may be now to pivot. Perhaps it's about maximizing Brunson's prime with a more offensive-minded coach. Perhaps it's about attracting a new superstar and needing a more player-friendly face on the sidelines. Maybe it's about preparing for the next 5 years instead of trying to rerun the last 5. But we're going to find out soon. But don't confuse transition with failure. Knicks Twitter's going crazy right now. Thibodeau didn't fail here. He succeeded wildly, unquestionably, indelibly. So let's say it plainly for history's sake. Tom Thibodeau took a franchise in ruins and gave it an identity. He took a roster full of misfits and he built a 50-win team. He made the playoffs 3 out of 4 years. Something we haven't done in over 2 decades. He coached up the best Knicks point guard since Walt Frazier. Why do I feel like this is like a eulogy? The man coached with heart, y'all. He coached with pride. And he coached the Knicks back into relevance. He coached this team like it mattered to him. He didn't just coach a team, he revived the culture. So now what? Now, the next coach walks into a job that people want. A team on the cusp. A roster full of assets and stars. A fan base that cares more deeply than any other fan base. F you mean. The next coach doesn't have to rebuild the brand. Thibs already did that. The next coach has an easier job because Tom Thibodeau did the hardest part, changing the reputation of the New York Knicks. And for that, we fans, the players should, the media should, the front office should owe him our full gratitude. So I say this. So to Tom Thibodeau, thank you, my brother. Thank you for saying yes when everyone else said no. Thank you for working harder than any coach ever would have had. Thank you for holding this franchise and all of us to a higher standard. New York gave you a second chance, and you gave New York its basketball soul back. That's not failure. That's a damn legacy. Forever grateful. From Knicks Deli and New York Knicks Nation. Keep this in mind. Same thing applies to life that applies to our team. If there's no struggle, there's no progress. And remember this. Good luck, coach. Whether it's out there in the real world or here in these YouTube streets. Here in Knicks Deli, you always gonna eat. I'm your boy Sheer. and I'm out. Peace.